Am I correct?
Move to remove item number 5 from the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any other amendment?
Mr. Mayor, with no other amendments, I approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? The agenda has been amended, approved as amended. Things look so simple. So we'll go straight to the very first agenda item, which is about DMV moves. This is a joint initiative by Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, COG, and the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, WMATA. From staff side, who is going to? We'll start with our guests, I believe. Welcome.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm Tom Harrington. I'm Multimodal Planning Program Director at Council of Governments, Department of Transportation Planning, joined by Kayla Joyner. She's with our Government Relations Office. We're excited to be here and talk about DMV moves. Yeah, we do. Okay, there we go. Great. And while my presentation tonight will primarily focus on the DMV Moves initiative between COG and Metro, before I get to that, I want to start with a brief introduction about the Council of Governments. So COG is focused on regional issues, and public transit is a great example of how interconnected this region is. We live, work, and play across boundaries every day. We all share a regional transportation network, including our metro system. Other examples, clean air, clean water don't stop at lines on a map. So we have a dynamic, diverse, growing region of 6 million people, and COG, COG is the one place in our region that brings leaders from DC, Maryland, Virginia together to tackle common issues. So we were created by area governments in 1957 to address various issues related to growth. As we've delivered results, our portfolio has grown. And we'd like to acknowledge Councilmember Mitchell, who's played a leadership role in COG, I think recently as the president of the COG board, and then currently serving as secretary-treasurer. So again, COG really is made up of members, and it's member participation that really makes it what it is. Okay. COG is also home to the region's Metropolitan Planning Organization. That's the National Capital Region Transportation Planning Board, and it's one of 400 MPOs across the country. MPOs ensure that major transportation projects are planned regionally, but it's a requirement in order to receive federal funding and approvals. So projects must be included in the region's long-range plan, as well as in the shorter-term transportation improvement program. So our main focus areas include transportation, public safety, community planning, and the environment. In transportation, TPB recently updated the region's long-range plan, which is called Visualize 2050, and that has a set of projects totaling $300 billion that the region expects to fund through 2050. And we also manage various programs. Commuter Connections is our program for employers to help employees make good decisions about commuting. Street Smart, which is a program for bicycle and pedestrian safety. So various programs like that. And we also have technical assistance grants, and more than $2 million have been received by the city in various funding and transportation and housing programs through programs like our TLC program, that's the Transportation Land Use Connection, which is providing consultant services to support projects for walkable communities. Some of the COG services include cooperative purchasing, so members save money and time through bulk purchasing. And as you can see here, College Park has participated both through purchases of fuel and things like roadway salt. Here's our breakdown of revenue by source. So you can see 73% of the budget is federal and state. Member dues are 9%. And that really is money that can be leveraged to access the federal money. So in that sense, it unlocks a huge amount of benefits for our member governments. And finally, just on this table, you can see membership dues for the City of College Park. So again, when you compare the member dues to just both the direct and indirect benefits and programs, you can see the great benefit that being a member provides. So moving on to the next phase. So that's the Council of Governments. DMV Moves is a joint initiative between COG and Metro. So today's presentation comes after the significant milestone in November when the COG and Metro boards met jointly to endorse the final DMV Moves plan. And that's dmvmoves.org, where you can see that plan. But that was after 18 months of the region working together to help define what's needed to achieve world-class transit and also to continue to maintain momentum in the transit system, particularly as we came out of the pandemic and trying to build back ridership on transit services. We are fortunate to have one of the best transit systems in the country. In fact, APTA named Metro the Transit Agency of the Year in 2025. But we have challenges on the transit front. And first is funding. So we have a funding crisis both at Metro and among our local operators. Metro has structural capital funding issues. So the prior funding agreement wasn't indexed to inflation. So as inflation increased, that took away the buying power for Metro. They also have the current debt capacity is exhausted by 2028, and that would mean a funding cliff of $800 million in Metro's capital program. So unless we address the funding cliff, that could mean more state of good repair backlog. Another challenge we have, though, is this complex network of operators. So it's both an opportunity and a challenge. We have 14 transit operators. And so we're always needing to find ways to coordinate services and to really provide seamless travel for the riders. So to address those urgent needs, COG and Metro boards came together to create the DMV Moves initiative, governed by a task force of elected officials and supported by advisory groups of both government representatives and regional stakeholders to ensure everyone had a voice and to reach consensus on a plan. The plan itself has 4 key components. So the Metro component, the Metro funding plan, is to reinvest and modernize Metro's rail and bus systems. And the plan calls for $460 million per year in new funding, and that's to grow at 3% a year. So unlike the last funding agreement, having it grow with inflation. So this dedicated funding will allow Metro to bond and to do long-term capital planning for the program. Metro particularly highlighted Metro Rail under the modernization, replacing the outdated signal system. So, Metro's original signal system has been described sort of as the rotary telephone, where everyone else now is on cell phones. So what we want to get to is communication-based train control. And they've pointed that out as what they can achieve with that dedicated funding. The plan also identified state and local needs, particularly among the local transit systems, over 60 million that would be needed to bring sort of local buses up to a standard in terms of the frequency of bus service around the region, and also called out another 60 million a year really needed for the commuter rail system, so for MARC and VRE. And both of those systems have expansion plans that are not funded within DMV Moves, but those were recognized. Bus priority was also called out as an important initiative. The reason being that as with traffic congestion, buses get stuck in traffic, and just to provide the same frequency costs more and affects the riders. And so the fourth component is an action plan for regional integration, which includes bus priority. And that's to look at a more seamless customer experience. So the action plan for transit integration is organized around 6 action areas that includes bus priority. And although there are already good examples of regional coordination, more can be done to improve the customer experience. And so the recommendations are organized in these 6 areas. Some of these are not new. I mean, before I was at Council of Governments 10 years ago, I was at Metro, and a lot of these were some of the same types of recommendations that we were working on about making it easier to pay for transit, about having consistent customer information at bus stops. But we believe that with the momentum that we're getting with DMV Moves, we're able to move forward. And another way that we plan to kind of keep moving forward is having TPB take on a lead coordinator role for this action plan. And so this month, TPB will vote on endorsing the plan, but also kind of accepting that role that was called out in the plan. So things like having consistent policies on student and youth fares. So the recommendation is for riders under 18 to ride for free across the system. Now, there's been a lot of change recently, and a lot of our local bus systems are actually fare-free already. But again, we're trying to look for consistency across all systems, including Metro. Same thing with bus stops. Having consistent information and consistent amenities at the bus stops was one of the recommendations. The bus priority plan in DMV Moves identified 7 bus priority lines. These tend to be the very high ridership and high potential for growth corridors in the system. This does not preclude other BRT lines being developed, but these are the ones that Metro in particular felt would provide the greatest benefit in the short term. So this is a pretty short term, a 6 to 8 year implementation schedule. As you can see, 4 of the corridors reach into Maryland, including New Hampshire Avenue and Annapolis Road corridors that touch Prince George's County. There's also a crosstown corridor that will help alleviate core capacity in downtown Washington. So the task force and really the stakeholders came together. Everyone agreed bus priority was an important recommendation. There's no dedicated fund to do it, but really the hard work now is we TPB staff will be working to identify roles and responsibilities and next steps to move forward in each of these corridors. So in addition to the work on the plan and implementing the plan, it's also, we're at a pivotal moment, and particularly, as I've said, public transit agencies have stabilized operations and recovered from the pandemic, but systems will require that ongoing capital investment. So at this time, COG and Metro are calling on the region to come together to help secure the funding. And we're also talking with cities and counties around the region. Many of them have endorsed the DMV Moves plan already. Loudoun, Fairfax, and Arlington counties in Virginia, for example, have done that. And we talked with Montgomery County earlier today. So again, we appreciate you giving us the opportunity to talk about the plan, and again, ask for everyone's help to help secure the dedicated funding. And as mentioned, we'll be at the TPB this month, also looking for an endorsement. So to wrap up here, DMV Moves offers a path forward for the region's transit system through this unified vision and a realistic funding solution. We can build this seamless transit network, and that really supports our region and helps everyone across the region. So thank you very much for your time, and happy to take questions.
Certainly. Thank you. I appreciate the partnership. And one thing before I take the questions, one new thing you have probably noticed that our staff is doing a fantastic job in keeping track of the time, and there is a countdown timer in front of you about every agenda item we'll be going through. And in the past, the work sessions have been pretty lengthy, so that is the purpose behind keeping this timer. We started a little early, so we could probably, even though the timer is showing us only we have 3 minutes, 15 seconds, but I think we can go past a little bit more time. Yeah, thank you. I was going to start with Councilmember Mitchell, because thank you for your leadership at the directors of the COG. Please go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you again for coming out tonight. I know this, as you said, has been an 18-month-long process, and it has been a collaborative one, and I appreciate the fact that for College Park, at least we weren't part of the actual working group, but we did have a seat at the table to hear the robust discussion about moving forward. 2 things, when we talk about the call to action and the path forward, will you be actually sending our city manager and the mayor correspondence as what you would like to see us specifically ask for as we go into the session starting tomorrow, because I know for Maryland, the municipalities don't individually have anything to do with the money that has to be put together in order to formulate this plan, but collectively as a state. So how will that look like during this legislative session?
Yep. And I think here I'm going to wear two hats. So my TPP hat is as a planner, and the technical side of things. But certainly the council government is working with all of our members to move forward on that. My understanding is there is draft legislation both in Virginia and in Maryland. Okay. And so we'd be happy to share information on the draft legislation as that's developed, and happy to do that. And that's actually I think like hot off the presses. I believe we only saw it earlier today, so we'll share that as we get more information on what's happening there.
Okay, and I appreciate that. And number two, I guess you are looking for us to pass a resolution at our next council meeting for DMV moves.
Yeah, we'd be very grateful for an endorsement, and I think again that would show the support both for the funding, but again wanted to really emphasize the importance of the regional integration action plan too as a key part of DMV moves. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Could this be as in the form of a proclamation or a letter to somewhere? But in what format do you like this support?
Whatever is we're happy with any type of endorsement.
Mr. Young?
The other jurisdictions all done resolutions, if I recall correctly, so it wasn't too formal.
Okay. Okay, please work with the staff, and council will be very happy to support you, certainly. Yeah, the easiest thing we can do is write a letter. That doesn't cost us much. Let me see, is there any questions on my council? Go ahead, Ms. Simmons.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for coming and presenting to us this evening. Thank you for the work that you've done as a convener on this effort thus far. It seems very important. A lot of good things moving forward here. I do have a question, though, about the regional bus priority plan. I'm assuming that this is what is in the plan, so there's no re-looking at this right now. But I did notice that the majority of the Route 1 corridor through Maryland is not identified as a bus priority line, and that is our main north-south connector through the city, and then many other cities and towns along the corridor have this as our connector, but in many ways it also inhibits movement, and we do have rather high headways on our north-south bus lines. The annual average daily traffic on the Route 1 corridor is higher in many segments than along the New Hampshire line leading out to White Oak. So I am curious what we could do moving forward, understanding this is kind of 6 to 8 years. How could we look forward as a council to make sure that that is in the next round of bus priority lines?
These are sort of the initial 7 corridors. I think it is how it's been explained in the plan, and I agree. This is likely, if we're successful, a first phase, and there will certainly be more corridors. In terms of how Metro had a working group that did look at like 40 corridors and really kept screening it down to these 7. A key criteria there was looking at where you have very frequent bus service today. So in that sense, and I think one thing that we'll clarify is the focus here is bus priority, not necessarily BRT. So when you think of BRT as sort of the turnkey where you have buses that are almost like a rapid transit system, here the focus really is on priority. In other words, how can we speed up and make buses more reliable in the corridors where Metro already and local providers provide a lot of service, because those are the places where the region will save the most money we can put out more service for the same money or reinvest in other corridors. So I think in terms of Route 1, the Baltimore Avenue corridor, the P1X, I know is already sort of a limited stop service. So I would say it's sort of, the planning needs to look at both the frequency, as you said, and looking at ways to make improved priority in that corridor. So we are currently this year going to do a bus priority system plan. So really DMV moves, it's about a half a page in the DMV moves plan with the 7 corridors identified. A lot of work went into identifying those 7, but really the hard work now is getting into what's it going to take to implement in these corridors. And I would say we welcome everyone's participation as we get into that, and that maybe would help dictate sort of where we go next, and do we have the right corridors and the right investments. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. And adding to this, we used to have a bus service on Route 1, which was, you probably know, which used to be provided by the Prince George's County Transit Service, and that has been discontinued, as I understand, recently. So many residents came to us telling that they're now suffering because of that decision. The other, many times we get comments from the community about the bus service that used to be between the Greenbelt station and the BWI airport. Is it B52 or something? B30? Is it B30? B30? And that has been discontinued, I believe, as well. And from our council, we sent letters a couple of times to restore it. At some point, it was kept, but the frequency was brought down. And right now, it is completely discontinued, which is a huge disadvantage, because right now there is no public transport for the community members to get to the BWI airport. So just to throw out that one, if you have any comment, how the city can help in advocating in restoring those routes.
I guess in talking about the last 3 years, I guess one initiative I also could have mentioned was Metro's Better Bus redesign of the bus system. So yeah. I think that was happening in parallel with all this work on DMV moves, and that is where a lot of bus routes got renamed, and then also a lot of restructuring of the service. I can't comment on any specific bus service changes that Metro may have made, but I think I think that was the venue by which a lot of changes recently have been made. Other than to say, I think that again, continued funding will help buy more buses, so services can be expanded and so forth. So I think, and we also again pointed to the local bus needs are being kind of key. So, and I think that's still a need that where a funding source hasn't been identified yet in the plan to how to continue to support the local bus operators.
Thank you. Hopefully, maybe we should be including those kind of feedback from the community in their letter. That might be a reason why you should be working together more.
For sure.
Thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Hill? Please keep it short, because we ran out of
Yes,
time.
as you may see, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you may see, there's been several questions regarding the bus system, and just new, better bus system that the Metro came out with. When they announced it, it wasn't so much of seeking input from the local jurisdictions. It was, this is what we're doing. And it was very disappointing because, it impacted us quite severely. There are a number of residents who came forward saying, this has not made anything better. So I'm wondering, as COG members and your role in all COG's role in all of this, how can we guarantee, or how can we be assured that the local jurisdictions will have some input on this new bus priority layout? Because I think we need to have some input on it.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Unless you have further comments or final words.
Thank you again, for the opportunity to share information on the plan.
The other guest, sorry, I didn't catch your name. If you have any final thoughts.
I just want to say thank you. Yeah, and to reiterate, we've been working with your city manager and city clerk to give them an example of a resolution. So we look forward to working with you guys on this as well.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate the partnership. Thank you. Thanks for
very much.
taking the time for coming to our city council. Appreciate it. All right. Let's move to that. Was nice. It's now 7. I'm keeping track of the time. So we are just on time. Actually, we are ahead of 5 minutes of the next agenda item. So let's just start the next one, which is about the discussion and consideration of the emergency replacement of the city's single-space smart parking meters. And this will be taken by our parking enforcement manager, Mr. Miller, Jim Miller.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council, and a warm welcome to our newest council members. I haven't had the opportunity to formally meet you other than Councilmember Simmons. I do look forward to working with you as we move forward. The first item that I'm here for is the discussion and consideration of the emergency replacement of our city's single-space smart parking meters. This falls on the heels of last spring when council approved the replacement of our antiquated pay stations, which are currently in the process of being replaced. A few months later, after that approval, we received word on September 15th from our longtime vendor, POM Incorporated, that they were going to be either closing or selling the business, not full disclosure, but that it would put us in a situation where we had to move fairly quickly. Based upon that information, I started reaching out to other vendors that would offer similar product. Being that I've worked in the industry for several years, I'm familiar with a lot of the vendors. Single-space smart meters are not as readily available through vendors. The meters that we currently have on street from POM are only approximately 6 years old. The problem that we see coming down the line with this is that while for the foreseeable future they will function perfectly fine, parts and batteries to operate them are no longer available. So as the batteries run out of surplus stock, parts are no longer available to be repaired or to send someplace for repairs. We are kind of on a time crunch here. And so we have reached out to 3 different vendors, 2 of which currently work with the University of Maryland, and that would be Flowbird, who is our new pay station provider, and also IPS Group. IPS Group, unfortunately, has not yet responded to our email request other than a virtual meeting to give us a price quote. So if we don't get anything in the next few days, we are looking to move forward either with Flowbird or the other vendor that offered a quote to us, McKay Meters, who is also a long-time company that's been in the industry. So we want to try to kind of step up the game with single-space smart meters. We know that it's not always feasible to put a pay station in a location to handle a small handful of parking spaces. It's just not cost-effective. So we are looking to some of our downtown merchants to also see what their recommendations are. For instance, 7400 block of Baltimore Avenue right next to us prefers to keep single-space smart meters in their small area of parking to accommodate the needs of their customers. So we do try to accommodate that as well. At this point, we are simply looking to see about having this brought back to council at a formal meeting that we can present a recommendation once we make a decision on who we think is the best fit for the city, and then go from there with council direction. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Thank you. Thank you for your work in looking into a replacement vendor and product. Thank you. Appreciate it. Mr. Hill, please go ahead.
Yes, it would be nice if we had a map of where these 71 meters are.
Certainly. Yep. And I can provide that. If you like, I can provide that after the meeting. I can send that out to you.
That would be nice.
Sure.
Yeah. I was just trying to figure out how we can get around parking parking meters for these spaces? Are there any other alternatives?
The only alternatives would be if you're going to provide the customer with a product on street, physical product on the street, it would either be in the fashion of a single space smart meter or a pay station. Pay stations, looking at some of these smaller areas where you only have a very few spaces without making it inconvenient for the customer, would be to remain the status quo. The other option that I've seen with some other cities across the U.S. is that in certain areas they have gone to mobile app only payment. That does discount a portion of our population that comes downtown to shop. I've also talked with other cities and jurisdictions that have done this. Some have been successful, and some have failed miserably. Sarasota in the downtown area, very large tourist area, St. Armand Circle. They tried that on the outer hubs. It's almost like a wagon wheel shape. The outer portions, they tried mobile app only, and basically the spaces remained empty. So they went back to the old methods of offering metered parking, still offering mobile app, but they had to give other options to their customers.
Thank you. One feedback we often get from the community, especially our senior community, they hesitant. Many of them are hesitant to come to downtown businesses because of the parking restrictions. Even though during summertime we make the parking free in the garage, but the single spaces still they need to pay. And because of that, they, instead of coming to College Park, even though they're College Park resident, they go to other jurisdictions like Greenbelt. Oftentimes they go there. And in your research, is there any vendor you could see that could provide, I'm not suggesting to have, it's just an option, to discounted rate or even free? I know other jurisdictions, probably in Baltimore somewhere, there is some kind of arrangements, and they have maybe in the garage or somewhere.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I know it's the council policy, but I'm talking about the capability.
Certainly, yeah. And I know that the free hour had been put in place a number of years ago under the previous city manager and council approval in the city's municipal garage. We would have to negotiate for any private properties that we have meter equipment on, such as College Park Shopping Center, to arrange for something like that. On city streets, anything that's owned or managed by the city that is on city property or public roadways, we can set whatever type of criteria we would want. If it was even, say, 15-minute free parking, if that was something the council would consider, we would talk with that vendor, and the software would be programmed as such. So it is always doable. It depends on what you're working with product-wise. Even the single-space smart meters that we have out on the street currently from POM do have that option. Of course, now it's no longer an option because we have to replace them. So, yeah, that is something we can look into.
Thank you. I would ask my District 3 council colleagues to take the lead. And it probably, you've been hearing this kind of thing many times from the community as well. Please go ahead.
And I'll just note, I think Ray is, I'll let Ray,
Mr. Ranker has
I'll let
joined,
Ray
by the
come
way.
in and then I'll come in.
Oh, Mr. Ranker has raised hand. Please go ahead. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Miller, for this. What I understand, there's 71 spaces total, and I just wondered how much revenue would you guess, or maybe hopefully you know, how much revenue do these bring into the city every year?
I would have to run some reports, to be honest with you. I do know that the high majority of transactions on our single space meters are credit card transactions. They also offer coin acceptance. But that a lot of times we find the coin acceptance is a little bit lower based on our younger population that tends to use the technology. It's the other individuals, the older generation, such as myself, where even though I'm familiar with technology, it's one of those situations where They prefer to be able to go the old-fashioned method and put coins in a machine to be able to pay for their parking, especially if it's short-term. But I can run those reports for you.
Would you have any ballpark guesses?
For the 71 spaces, if we're talking about credit card transactions and coin combined, I would say ballpark would probably be in the $30,000 a year range for the 71 spaces total. And that would be just for paying customers, not for non-compliance, where we would issue citations.
Okay, because that comes out. That would be roughly $422 per space. Because one of the things, just looking at these quotes too. You do have the installation fee, but then you have the monthly fees. I believe the second one that we had, the monthly fee was $650 a month in addition, which, it just, do you have any idea what the current monthly, and would you say that it's 30,000?
The current monthly, most of the fees that are assessed are for your credit card transactions. Even with pay stations, there is a per transaction fee for processing, which is typically 20 cents per transaction. So I know that with POM, our average monthly bill is somewhere in the $400 to $475 range, depending on the number of transactions. And of course, that fluctuates during the course of the year with student population being in town and such.
Yeah. Do we have any idea about how long the life of these meters would be?
I can tell you that prior to us going with the smart meters that we have in place, when it was coin acceptance only, those meters, the mechanisms themselves were in place between 15 and 20 years. Smart meter technology, whether it is a single space or a two space meter, such as what we're talking about compared to a pay station, I have not had the honor of being able to get those numbers yet. I do know that pay stations, their life expectancy is rated at 7 to 10 years. Because they do carry a heavier load of transactions since they manage multiple spaces as opposed to a single space or two spaces. So my guess would be that these meters that we're talking about needing replacement would be lasting at least 10 to 15 years.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Oates.
Great, and thank you for bringing this before us. I think, I know we're talking about the infrastructure here, but I just wanted to start by sharing maybe some thoughts and a vision, both with you and the other folks on council here, that I haven't discussed with most of them. But I think as it comes to parking, I think something that would be very interesting in terms of a future vision is seeing how we could pursue a single mobile app to park in College Park in city or private lots where there is like a pay per hour approach. So I know that's much broader in scope than this agenda item. So I just want to put that out there as an idea that I think would dramatically improve people's ability to find the parking that they need, that we could use a variety of tools to pursue. As I approach this agenda item, I think some of the questions I have are if that is the approach or vision that we would be moving towards in the future, I'd be interested to understand staff's recommendations on what would you, if that were happening, what would you then want to pursue? Would it be something that would just be coin only operated and it's coin or mobile options, or only mobile? I think I don't want to install infrastructure that will immediately become not as viable in just a couple of years. So that's my first question. Thanks.
Thank you. good comments. We could actually continue that kind of conversation in the next agenda item, probably. Kind of touches on. Yeah, thank
I
you.
think it's more on
On the parking meters.
paid parking rather than permit.
All right, Mr. Hill.
Yes, thank you. How many contract parking users do we have, like for employees of downtown?
Are you asking for staff hours?
Well,
Maybe.
my thinking is that, if they're parking in the garage, you're paying a certain fee for long-term parking in the garage. Instead of in the garage, how about if we put them out in these spaces and have them by permit only that would be utilized by these long-term parking employees of downtown College Park?
Regarding the employees of downtown merchants, for those that are not afforded some type of a parking program, either through the agreement, such as this College Park Shopping Center, for example, part of the agreement is that they are allocated a certain number of permits every 6 months, and they're distributed by the property management to each of their tenants, whose management in turn distributes them out to their employees. They have designated areas on property where they can use those without having to pay for parking. Most of your other downtown businesses do not have that same luxury. There's very limited space, for instance, 7400 block of Baltimore Avenue right next door to us, behind the shops where it's their own private lot, but it's very limited. Everybody else either has to pay for their own parking, or the city has a couple of monthly programs set up that are designed to help to accommodate and offset the cost. Those are currently at $60 per month, and that would include the St. Andrew's Episcopal Church lot. And we do have a program that is in the city's municipal garage as well. So we do see some participation. We do make notice to the businesses that this is available as an option, especially for a full-timer, working 40 hours a week. It's the big cost savings if they, spend $60 a month instead of $2 an hour. So we do try to encourage those programs to be sold, but ultimately it's the employee's decision on whether they want to utilize that or not. So we do have some programs in place, but because we are such a tight downtown area, we do have limitations as to what's available. So we try to make the best with what we've got.
Yes, but if we could, is it a viable solution to utilize these, what would be metered spaces, into those types of monthly pass spaces, so that it's not something we need to monitor other than by license plate reader, sort of mechanism, and having it listed as only, by permit parking?
Sure. We don't currently use the LPR in applications where the parking spaces are 90 degrees, straight in. It's usually angled parking. The LPR was initially designed as a neighborhood application for permit parking. They can certainly look at an adjustment. These are fixed cameras, so it's more difficult to have to readjust a camera to a different angle to be able to pick up a tag number. Other issues in that respect would be if you have vehicles that back into a space where they're no longer required to display, or not required by the state of issuance, a front tag. So a license plate reader would not even pick that up, meaning that the officer would have to get out of the car and go check it themselves. There aren't a whole lot of locations where we can set up monthly only. I know that the city has tried to utilize the garage in such a way to reach a higher capacity of parking. But the old adage has always been, with customers at least, if they can't park close to where they're going to go, they don't typically park. So a lot of times the employees prefer to be able to park right in front of their business, which takes away customer parking, and you always want to make the customer parking more convenient. to maximize the business, the revenues going into the business itself. It's certainly something we could look at, but again, we are limited into the options we have available to us for that.
Thank you. Ms. Jordan, we are running a little behind. 4 minutes. Please go ahead.
Very
Please go ahead.
briefly, when you are putting together the map for the 71 spaces, are these typically hour limits, like 2 to 3 hours, that type of thing?
Yes,
Okay.
typically anywhere from 90 minutes on average to 2 hours.
Okay, because this isn't just about having people pay, it's about we have a very limited number of spots and like moving people along so that the next group of people can come.
Yeah, and that's another part of a successful program is if you place the time limits correctly in given locations based on the needs of service, the turnover of space is critical to make sure you get customers in and out. They conduct business, they move on, the space opens up for somebody else.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I think that's all the time we have. But the next item is also yours, so please don't go away, right? I believe. Review of parking status policies and coinciding fees and penalties.
Yes, and I actually am going to defer to our city manager to open with this one.
I just wanted to.
We need your help as well.
I just wanted to frame this item for the council. We have 5 topics of discussion tonight. So those 5 topics were brought to the City Council back in August 6th of 2025, and then it was further discussed back in November 12th of 2025. And really, this is really to bring everybody back up to speed as to what we're doing before we actually bring you an item for action. What we want to do is outline what these issues are and what our proposed direction is on each one of those. And so what we'd like to, if you have feedback on the approach that we're continuing to pursue, the approach was based on the direction that we had already received from council. So Jim,
Thank
if you
you.
could.
Appreciate it. Yeah, this list is especially helpful for our new council colleagues. Any comments from our new colleagues? We discussed it in the past, so it's been a lot of time. And I'm really happy that the staff has included the parking study item, which is number 5, in it. I think all of us actually supported that, if I can remember. Ms. Mackey.
So on the number 1, are we talking about a pilot program to do the 3 spots? Are we talking about it being permanent?
Well, I believe based on our discussions in August and November with council at that time, the decision was to allocate 3 permits per property address and 2 visitor passes, with the understanding that that is a discretionary item. So when any new permit restricted areas come about in College Park that council approves, you actually set the allocated number of permits and guest passes for that given area. City code does not need any type of amendments or ordinance change because it specifies that it's open-ended for council to make that decision at that time. So this one is fairly straightforward, I believe, unless the council has a different idea or thought on that.
Mr. Hill.
Yes, I'm worried about going there and setting 3 in stone in the sense that I think we need to be aware of the situation of that neighborhood. If there are enough spaces to accommodate 3 per household on the street, then that may be so. But if there's less than 3 spaces on the street to accommodate, then we need to adjust that. If there's ample and there's enough requests, well then we need to be able to address that. So where 3 might be the solution in a lot of areas, it might not be the solution for all areas.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, and I agree. I believe the reduction in the number of permits was just the discussion at that time. It is not a set in stone. So again, whenever any future permit areas come about through council approval, you can set the number at whatever you want. It can be 3, it can be 2, it can be 1. It's going to be based on demographics and the amount of street space that's available. because we have to consider not only the people that live there, but the visitors to those properties and your non-compliance vehicles. So all that factors into it. And of course, it's a tough equation to try to work out because there's no given to it. It's nothing that's, a known commodity. It's going to fluctuate from one street to the next. So that is something that council has the discretion to look at as we move forward with any future, ordinances or any future petitions that come forth to council for approval.
And that would be relevant within the study that we're talking about.
Correct.
Done.
Exactly. A study could actually figure that out. Yeah. Ms. Mitchell?
Thank you, and thank you, Councilman Hugh, for bringing up the point about the study, because it seems to me that number 5 will be the most important part of this, is to do the study and then to answer 4, 3, 2, and 1 after the study is done, because that will give us a lot of data points and information related to each of the neighborhoods. So I do appreciate staff bringing this back up, especially for the newer council members, and I think this will be a good start for us moving forward.
Yeah, and whether it's within the current fiscal budget or the upcoming one, Mr. Young is been tasked, so to speak, with
find the money.
Seeing if there's available funding for the study. So I agree, Councilmember Mitchell, that yes, that is going to be the foundation for a lot of these other items that's on this for discussion. Once we get the study in place and we get some information back, that's going to give us a jumping off point where we can figure out where we need to move in what direction with each of the other items.
I agree. Good points. Thank you. Ms. Mackey, I'm not sure who actually raised hands first. Ms. Mackey and then Ms.
I'll just
Jordan.
go quickly. I also concur with my colleague that the study is our first priority. I think it will help us to make the decisions, and it'll also give opportunity for the residents to have some kind of input, because the study will be going to the different members of the community and talking to them. I think that that's very key, because this is something that can we need to be very transparent. I appreciate the ideas that were given in 1 through 4, but I really am supporting doing the study and moving forward from there. So thank you.
Mr. Young?
If I could, I wanted to just draw out item number 2. So item number 2, I think, is something that's a low-hanging fruit for the council, for that we don't have to wait for a parking study to do. And if you're okay with us moving forward, we'd like to move forward with that particular item and bring that back to you.
Okay. Thank you. And what will be the basis of new fine structures? Is it based on what other jurisdictions are doing, neighboring jurisdictions maybe?
Yes, that's correct. Actually, we didn't want, when we first brought this to council last year, we didn't want to inundate with comparatives for other jurisdictions and agencies within not only the state of Maryland, Prince George's County, University of Maryland. We have all those different fines that they charge for, and some of them that have been mentioned that are more particular to safety issues, fire plugs, bike lanes, things of that nature. Our fine structure is fairly low compared to a lot of other towns, cities, and even the University of Maryland. To get the point across, a slap on the wrist isn't going to do as much good as if you hit them hard in the pocketbook. If somebody parks in a fire lane, they should be fined accordingly. And our fines are $35. In some places, it's $200. So these are things, and it's not necessarily that it's a revenue generator that we're looking solely at. We're looking to gain compliance for the safety of everybody else out there, not just in motor vehicles, but your pedestrians. So it's critical that we look at a lot of these different violations closely. And I think that would be something, as Mr. Young said, that we bring back separately. We don't necessarily need the parking study to do that.
Thank you. Ms. Jordan, thanks for your patience.
Thank you. I would agree with that about the fine structure and specifically the idea about the safety violations being higher. even if we're raising all of it, that in particular the safety violations are the very important ones. Just to maybe set an expectation for staff, if this is correct. So tonight we would be knowing we have a study that is hopefully coming, that we sort of explain our priorities and what we're trying to accomplish with the studies. What questions are we trying to answer? What kinds of things are we trying to balance in the city of College Park? And so that's why we're having the discussion tonight ahead of the study, to sort of give a broad framework of what we want it to accomplish. Is that correct?
Yes, and a lot of the safety issues that's been brought up in the past, not only from previous and current council, but a lot of our residents in College Park, is your safety issues where you have neighborhoods without sidewalks, you have sightline issues at intersections, crosswalks that have been put in by Public Works through our city engineering studies, things of that nature. It's all geared toward trying to look out for the safety of our residents. So these are things we'll be looking at.
Thank you. I see Mr. Hugh and Mr. Ranker next.
Thank you. Yes. Just like for this future study will come before us, I was looking at, and I totally agree with your points in number 2 and what Mr. Young said is something we can just take on without a study, but it would be useful. It was kind of, I know you guys provided us a list of all the different fine costs and things like that, but it was kind of hard to go through there and search for the actual, fine that goes together with the ones we're trying to address. So if you can come back with us with, parking in front of a fire hydrant is, which I think we all agree should be maybe like a $250 fine or something like that. No other jurisdictions are charging that. Something that breaks it down a little bit easier for us, versus searching for all this to figure out.
Certainly,
okay, it's a $35 fine.
The Chapter 110 for fees and penalties doesn't necessarily break out the individual fines for each violation that we have on the books, nor the late fee structures. I actually have what I call a dumbed down version that shows all the violations that we enforce, and it has the fines for each one of them all on one page. I can provide that to you as well.
That would be useful.
Thank you. Mr. Ranker and then Mr. Oates.
Yes, I want this to keep moving forward. I do want to move forward number 5, that then can look at intentionally 1 and 3 that can help us with those pieces. I'm already in favor of number 4, and definitely raising existing parking fines. Definitely in favor of. I mean, the no parking zones, fire lanes, et cetera. The parked against the flow of traffic, I honestly think needs to be a much lower fine than, say, parking in no parking zones or fire lanes, as opposed to, parking in my neighborhood and, oftentimes it's visitors or people like that who just kind of accidentally park on the wrong side. Seems like a much less egregious one than parking a fire zone, for example. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Oates.
It'd be helpful to understand contextually if the city is currently planning or foresees the creation of new parking zones, permit zones. I don't know how often that happens, or if there's one coming before us 2 months from now, or if, when help me understand that piece of this.
Basically, permit parking in College Park started back in the early 1990s when council imposed the first 2 parking areas. It started downtown here in Old Town and Calvert Hills when the College Park Metro's Green Line was coming to College Park. A short time later, when they decided to extend the Green Line to Greenbelt, while you have a pedestrian access tunnel on the College Park side of the tracks, that was enough to warrant council to impose permit parking up there. Other than one other area that was imposed by council, all the other areas, and we're talking probably another 14, were all petitioned by residents who felt that they had parking issues within their own neighborhood, and they would know better than any of us. They live there every day, so they deal with it. When they come about, anybody's guess. With the exponentially increased amount of high-density living and development here in College Park, we're seeing that it's pushing the envelope with some of our residential streets. And as a result, while some of those developments, as their declaration of covenants would specify that they're not entitled to parking on a public street, how otherwise can you enforce that without putting some type of a restriction in place on the streets? More times than not, that comes about from the residents. They see a development come about and they petition the city for permit parking. So there's no rhyme to reason when it happens, but it will eventually.
But there's none in the pipeline. Part of the reason I ask is to understand the connection between that and the parking study. But I'll just say, look forward to working with you on all of these things. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
Just to get to Councilmember Oates' point, a lot of what we'll find from the parking study is trying to look at maybe a uniform way to kind of apply this throughout the city. And right now, it's kind of scattered. I'll say scattered is probably the easiest word I could use, and inconsistent from neighborhood to neighborhood. And I think the parking study will kind of help give us some guidance and some parameters that the council then can give us direction.
Thank you. One other thing, and related to parking, we discussed on these days a couple of times, and I miss our former colleague, Mr. Rigg, and every time a new request came through the petition process, we always approved it most of the time. I can't remember ever actually denied it. And he used to make a very good point, and you know that what is the rationale behind spending so much time and also the staff time if we really approve it in the end.
Exactly.
Is this something could be included as a scope, list of scopes in the parking study or something?
We can certainly do that. I think, as Mr. Young stated, that the parking study may help to kind of make the determination how we can move forward with that. We've seen a number of permit areas come about before council by petition for a single block, which is what Chapter 151 for permit parking says is the minimum, both sides of the street, one city block. That could certainly be changed within the city code to say that it has to be a greater area. The city council also has the option on a petition for a single city block, for instance, to say we see the writing on the wall, and we're going to actually expand that area for the entire street, for instance. The most recent one on Delaware Street was a petition 3 blocks away from the flats up on Baltimore Avenue. So that is something that nobody else said they had a parking problem closer to the development, but these folks did when the construction workers were still on the streets doing the job, finishing up. I think in those situations, council has the discretion to say, let's expand the area. But again, a parking study certainly would be beneficial to to help us out.
Okay, thank you. Oh, Mr. Ranker, second bite, I guess.
Yeah, I just because it's come up a couple of times, I do think it's an equity issue, waiting for people to petition the city. I mean, the people who generally petition the city, or I should say, maybe not specifically College Park, but cities in general, they tend to be the more wealthy folks, people that are more connected, and it's really like the marginalized communities that are going to be less likely to petition. So that's why I'm very much in favor of the study that can help guide us and set some parameters, so that we're not just being reactive based on who are the people speaking the loudest and getting our attention, but how can we make sure we're addressing the needs throughout the city. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We are over the time, but not too much. But thank you so much for your work. I appreciate it.
Certainly.
All the feedback. Sorry, second, Mr. Hill.
we eliminated number 5, so we do have more time overall.
Oh, yeah, item number 5, agenda item, yes. Still, if you can, sorry, is this related to this item? Please go ahead, second bite.
So we haven't discussed at all number 3, and I'm not exactly sure how the parking study would play into that. Number 3 is the prohibited vehicles and sort of redefining what's excluded and what isn't. So a lot of commercially available for normal family use vehicles are much bigger than they used to be, sure. And making sure that that we don't have code that just a normal Toyota Sienna or something that's now enormous, but doesn't fit in with our code, so that the purpose of the code, the intention of it, was that family vehicles are acceptable, and then commercial vehicles like a truck, like a food truck, like something that somebody's using for a business, is not. And so, will that be part of what we're going to look at? I don't think that's part of a parking study, correct?
I'm not sure if that would be part of the study itself. As a study, generally speaking, I know that the prohibited vehicle ordinance had been brought up in August and November of last year because we saw an influx of people that would buy a standard pickup truck, and even a small pickup truck can exceed the 6-foot width requirement. So then it becomes a matter of a combination of 2 items criteria within that code. If it's more than 6 foot wide and it's overweight by gross vehicle weight, manufacturer specs is what we look at. Then potentially somebody buying a full-size van, a full-size pickup truck could violate the prohibited vehicle ordinance. And I've talked with past and current council on this item over the last several years. I know that the last amendment in 2021 was aimed more to try to eliminate that, but I think in turn, in the restructuring of the wording of the code back in 21, it may have lent itself to potential problems. And so we'd get the rare but occasional property owner or resident that feels like I can't park a vehicle on the street. I can't purchase a vehicle that would be a violation of city code on the street in front of my house. I'd have to park it in my driveway if I have a driveway. So that's what we're looking at, and we would be looking to council to try and eliminate the wording of the code or amend the wording of the code in such a way that it wouldn't affect the regular resident purchasing a vehicle, but it would be geared more toward your commercial type vehicles, stake bodies, larger trucks. The way the wording says for commercial logos, you could have something as small as a Ford Escape, which is a small SUV. And if they've got commercial logo on it, they're in violation of the prohibited vehicle. But that's what that was geared toward. So I think that that's what we need to look at, and I do believe that that would be a separate item at some point that we need to bring back. Okay. And we can work with council and with our city attorney to try to restructure that if need be.
So you do not necessarily need the parking study to be completed?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, thank you. So that answers your question. Thank you. Appreciate it. Ms. Mackey?
Ms. Mitchell had her hand up before me. Okay, so I'll go quickly. Thank you, Councilmember Jordan, for bringing that up. So we could examine like cars that are left on the street for months and things like that, and while we're doing this part, yes. Number 3, okay. I just wanted to bring that to your attention because yes. I know that in the past we've tried to be very accommodating to residents who are going on vacation and have left their car on the street, but we don't want to have people using College Park streets to abandon cars and
certainly.
That kind of thing.
And I think part of that, and that's why I mentioned about the elimination of or consideration to eliminate the 48-hour limit ordinance exemption for long-term vehicle storage, as it were. People that have multiple cars, you can only drive one at a time. They may have a car they want to take out and drive during nice weather. Yeah. So they leave it on the street, and as long as it's within a city block, they're exempt from the 48-hour limit ordinance, separate from prohibited. But it then lends itself to additional vehicles just being left sitting. Not that I'm against that. I have several cars myself, but I also have space off street to park all my cars. So that's not the issue. One of the other concerns, too, when we discuss this at a later point in time will be to consider with prohibited vehicle. If somebody is violating the prohibited vehicle, genuinely a violation because it's a commercial vehicle, they have the option through code to request an exemption through the APC, which would then come back to you all for consideration. And so I know that started with the initial prohibited vehicle ordinance that came about years ago, where the city council looked at a handful of vehicles and essentially grandfathered them in because they had always been allowed to park on the streets. And these were people that would be required to bring their work vehicle home as part of their job. So there's a fine line, and those have to be considered on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you. Ms. Mitchell?
No, I was just going to say, Mr. Mayor, in order for the interest of time and to wrap up this discussion, I think we maybe have some salient points to move on. I know Councilmember Jordan wanted to talk about the prohibited vehicles, which is something that we've always been grappling with, and I just think it's two different venues or avenues to take, but we can move forward collectively.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Ranker, is that your old hand or new hand? Looks like it's old one.
Looks like it's old.
All right, that's an old one.
Thank you. So to wrap up, I think the council wants to move forward with number 5 as a parking study and a couple of other items, number 1 and number 3 as a separate items to be coming back. Am I correct?
Yeah, I've got my marching orders. I'm good.
Okay, good. Staff is good with the outcome.
I just want to make a comment for the record.
Please.
Just
a quick
5
one.
minutes per item on this agenda item. I don't think there's enough time to hash this out.
I don't think 5 minutes, the 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We need to be cognizant of our time.
Yeah. But the next
Like
one is a
speed
heavy
dating.
one, and I wouldn't be surprised that we'll be spending a lot of time, because I think this is the most heavy one. All right. Thank you so much for your work.
My
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Thank you.
All right, so let's go to number 4, which is the discussion on detailed site plan DSP submittal. Branchville Crossing DET-2025-010, 4810 Branchville Road, 87 unit, 4-story multifamily affordable housing units for elderly and physically disabled families to utilize 4% low-income housing tax credit, LIHTC. And this will be taken by our senior planner, Mr. Nunes, and also our planning director, Mr. Bader. Thank you. Thank you for all the work. Please go ahead. The floor is yours. Presentation. There you go.
So good evening. For those of you that don't know, my name is Carlos Nunes. I'm the senior planner, flanked by my director, Miriam Bader. Tonight I'll try to be succinct and structured as possible. I know there's a lot of detail here to cover. The staff presentation tonight reviews the applicant's detailed site plan submittal for Branchville Crossing, which is a multi-family senior affordable housing project located at 4810 Branchville Road. The project was previously approved in 2020 under earlier county approvals and is now before us as a revised and scaled down proposal. The subject property is a 2.2 acre, next slide please. The subject property is a 2.2 acre triangular site on the north side of Branchville Road, west of Maryland 193 and Rhode Island Avenue. It consists of 2 parcels with different zoning designations, creating a unique development context. Its proximity to major transportation corridors supports accessibility and connectivity, while the site's geometry and adjacency to Maryland 193 require careful consideration of circulation, emergency access, and noise mitigation through fencing and landscaping. Overall, the site is well positioned for integration with surrounding land uses and the broader urban fabric of College Park. Branchville Crossing proposes a 4-story, 47-foot tall multifamily building with 87 affordable units for elderly or physically disabled households under a 4% low-income housing tax credit program, otherwise known as LIHTC, L-I-H-T-C. The program includes 54 surface parking spaces, stormwater management facilities, and on-site amenities such as passive open space and maintenance access. I want to take a moment to demystify the 4% tax credit mentioned in the staff report. We had some questions earlier today regarding that. It's the financial engine that makes this project possible. Generally, you can think of it as a contract between the public and the developer. The 4% is a federal subsidy that covers about 30% of the construction costs, but that money comes with very strict strings attached. In exchange for this funding, the developer, Cruise Development, is legally bound to two commitments that benefit our community. Number one, first, the developer cannot charge market rate rents. Every one of the 87 units is rent capped based on the income of the residents. This ensures the housing remains truly affordable. Second, these homes are dedicated specifically to seniors and neighbors with physical disabilities. So while the 4% is a technical financial tool, the end result for Branchville is a brand new high-quality building that provides stable, guaranteed affordable housing to our most vulnerable residents for decades to come. Parcel and zoning breakdown. Parcel A contains the residential building and parking and is zoned RMF 48. That's on the left-hand side, and that smaller piece, the AG.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but is there a way that this can be shown on the joining
on our display in front of us? Could it be projected there? Yeah, Mr. Ranker cannot see the presentation.
And Mr. Nunes can continue.
Yeah, if you, I think,
technical.
In the meantime, Mr. Ranker, you can see the presentation. I believe in our packet, the same presentation is included. Am I correct? This presentation? Or is it a little different?
No, it's the same information, but we've sort of condensed it, and they won't have the same graphics. They won't have as many graphics.
Okay. Please continue. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So as I was saying, there's two parcels here. Parcel A contains the residential building and parking and is zoned RMF 48. That's the larger sort of slice you see on the left-hand side. Parcel 91 is zoned agricultural, AG, and is limited to stormwater management and passive green space and site integration consistent with the zoning restrictions. The site has a long approval history. Although earlier detailed site plans have expired and are no longer valid, they help provide background on access, building size, and neighborhood compatibility. Notably, the original preliminary plan approved up to 96 units, which is more than what is proposed today. On the next slide, you'll see a chart that we designed, which I think does a really good job of looking at the proposed changes from the 2020 DSP versus the current DET of 2025. Compared to the 2020 approval, the current proposal reduces overall building height and simplifies circulation and parking access. While the unit count increases modestly, the project remains below the intensity approved at the PPS stage. Under county procedures, traffic analysis also occurs at the PPS stage. Because the current proposal includes fewer units than originally approved and generates well under 50 peak hour trips, a new traffic study is not required. Trips are primarily associated with staff and visitors due to the senior and physically disabled designation. The approved natural resource inventory confirms no wetlands or floodplains on site. Woodland and steep slopes are primarily located along Maryland 193, and one specimen tree has been approved for removal due to poor condition. Next, we have an aerial image of Branchville Crossing. All woodland conservation requirements. Next slide. All woodland conservation requirements have been satisfied through off-site mitigation. The TCP2, which is the Tree Canopy Conservation Plan, qualifies for grandfathering, and staff confirms compliance with applicable county requirements. Next slide. Stormwater will be managed on parcel 91. That is pictured within the red square through a combination of micro bioretention, wetlands, and underground storage consistent with the previously approved stormwater concept plan. The proposed development significantly exceeds the minimum requirements for open space. The proposed open space set-aside area is approximately 53%, well above the required 20% minimum for the RMF 48 zone. The applicant is proposing providing at the front of the building an outdoor covered porch with a seating for 10. At the rear of the building, the applicant is proposing to provide a large outdoor patio with seating, grills, a shuffleboard, a pavilion, and putting green or dog run. Next slide, we have a rendering of conceptual ideas for outdoor features and landscaping. Staff recommends the designated shuffleboard be reversed for a flexible outdoor play area to accommodate residents' desires, i.e. that is, residents might prefer the location to be used for pickleball or some other popular gaming besides shuffleboard. Although the zoning ordinance caps parking at 36 spaces, staff supports the proposed 54 spaces due to fire constraints, senior housing operations, and neighborhood feedback regarding on-street parking impacts. The scaled-down design emphasizes accessibility, operational efficiency, and neighborhood compatibility, addressing prior community concerns while advancing housing affordability and sustainability through EV charging stations and bicycle parking. As an addendum, the applicant states that he'll work with the county, with the help of the city, to modify the ordinance to provide for a greater maximum or more reasonable relief. Noise. Due to proximity to Maryland 193, a Phase 2 noise study is required. Phase 1 was completed prior to certification to demonstrate compliance with interior and exterior noise standards. Shadow studies are not required at the detailed site plan stage. You'll note points A and B. I'm sorry, previous slide. You'll note points A and B found on the map in the upper right, which denote where the meter readings were taken. As an FYI, 55 decibels is the nighttime threshold, 65 for daytime, and 45 for interior. Outdoor lighting. Lighting is designed to minimize glare and spillover and will be verified at certification. Moving to landscaping, the project is currently being finalized for full compliance with the landscape manual. Additionally, we are encouraging the removal of invasive species to ensure a healthier, restored environment. Please note that on that screen it says invasive species removal required. That should read invasive species removal is recommended. Several technical landscaping items remain under review, including plant unit deficits and TCP2 revisions. These deficiencies have been addressed in the staff conditions of approval and will be resolved prior to certification. Next slide, please. Staff recommends enhanced signage and pavement markings to clearly communicate emergency-only access along Branchville Road between 49th Avenue and Rhode Island Avenue. For the Declaration of Covenants, which we'll be working on, a new declaration of covenants is required to reflect the current proposal and conditions of approval. The prior covenant is no longer applicable. Staff analysis. Staff finds the proposal generally consistent with applicable standards. Remaining issues relate to removing the parking cap, technical compliance, and coordination with various agencies and are appropriately addressed through the previously discussed conditions. Our recommendation. Based on analysis presented, planning staff recommends that the City Council provide a recommendation of approval to the Planning Board, including support for the proposed parking quantity, subject to the listed conditions as specified in the report. The conditions mainly concern implementation of the landscaping plan, and we have talked with the applicant about the conditions, and they are generally in agreement with them, although specific wording may need to be modified. Final assertions will be worked out prior to the scheduled January 27th City Council meeting later this month. This concludes the staff presentation. Miriam and I are available for questions, as is Matt Tedesco and his team, who are here tonight with us.
Thank you. So what I do to our new council members, we receive presentation from our staff and then also from our applicant, and if you have any specific questions on this project that you think more applicable to our staff, this is the time to ask. Or if you don't think so, you can wait until the presentation from the applicant is concluded. Do you have any question for staff? Yeah. Okay. So let me invite our applicant at this point. Thank you, Mr. Nunes, for your work. Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, how are you? Good evening.
Doing fine. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Happy New Year. And congratulations to all the newly elected council members. Congratulations on your successful election. Did I hit something I shouldn't have? Okay. The screen went blank, so I didn't know. For the record, my name is Matthew Tedesco at the law firm of McNamee Hosey in Greenbelt, here on behalf of the owner applicant, Cruz Development Corporation. From the applicant's team, we have John Cruz and Armin McCoy, who flew down this afternoon from Boston to be with us this evening. I want to thank them for being here with us this evening. We have Barry Kaysen from Atwell, who is our civil engineer for the project. We have Joe Iwoscu and Jana Del Giaco, I hope I pronounced that right, Joe, from Soto Architecture. We have Mike Lenhart from Lenhart Traffic and Consulting, and we have Dominic Lockhart, who's our planner, with us this evening. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we greatly appreciate the opportunity to present this evening. I want to thank Carlos and Miriam for their review. We've been working very closely with your staff in preparation of this evening's work session, and generally stand before you in general agreement with staff's recommendations. And thank you for it's been a wonderful experience working with both of you on this project. This project is kind of, euphemistically kind of what's old is new, right? It dates back to 1987. At that time, the project was approved for 96 units. It was entitled, it was platted, it's grandfathered. In 2020, more recently, within the last 5 or 6 years, it was reapproved for a detailed site plan for a much greater intense use, being a market rate multifamily project of 7 stories. Before you this evening is a scaled down version, as Carlos indicated, for a senior affordable project that really, we believe, fits the needs of not only the city but the county. The applicant proposes 1 4-story residential building, 87 affordable apartment units, comprising of 78 one-bedroom units and 9 two-bedroom units. The building height is approximately 47 feet, which is well below the maximum permitted 110 feet. The project is financed, as staff indicated, by 4% low-income housing tax credit, which ensures not only the long-term affordability of the project, but income-restricted rents, housing stability for the residents on a fixed or limited income. The unit mix is intentional, designed for seniors, primarily one-bedrooms consisting of 78 units, and a limited number of two-bedroom being 9 units at two-bedroom. The design emphasizes aging in place with elevators, accessible circulation, on-site amenities, and social spaces. The Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development requires the applicant, as stated in Section 3.4 of the Multifamily Rental Financing Program Guide, that a tenant service plan be provided for the tenants. And what that really does is seeks to accommodate the services that will be provided to the senior residents, distinguishing this project from a typical market rate multifamily project. The county planning data clearly shows that Prince George's County's senior population is growing rapidly. Residents aged 65 and over now make up nearly 14% of the county's population, more than doubling what was in place in 2000. The fastest growing segments are those aged 65 to 74 and those over 85. The very population that most likely needs smaller units, accessible design options, and affordable rents. County reports also show that many senior households live alone, rely on fixed incomes, and experience mobility, hearing, and vision impairments. Without new apartment housing for elderly, seniors are often forced into market rate housing that they cannot afford, aging inaccessible housing stock, or institutional settings that are more costly and less desirable. This project directly responds to those documented needs. The site is within the established communities growth policy area of Plan 2035, which specifically encourages context-sensitive infill development, efficient use of existing infrastructure, and housing options that allow residents to remain in their communities as they age. The master plan that governs this property designates this property as residential high, which equates to approximately 48 units to the acre, which this project is below. Apartment housing for the elderly is exactly the type of use anticipated here. It provides a transition between the commercial corridors and the nearby single-family neighborhoods. It delivers housing at a scale and density contemplated by the plan. And importantly, the current proposal is less intense than what was previously approved. It's lower in height, fewer parking, and reduced visual massing. The building is fully elevated with 2 elevators for redundancy and convenience. While ADA is not the governing law for residential housing, the applicant is required under the 4% tax credit to provide uniform federal accessibility standards, a minimum of 5% units. That equates to 3 one-bedroom units compliant as UFAs, 3 two-bedroom units compliant with UFAs, 1 one-bedroom compliant with hearing and visual impairments, making up 2%, and 1 two-bedroom is also compliant, making up that 2%, which is required under the federal law. The site includes extensive amenities designed specifically for seniors, indoor community lounge spaces, outdoor patios and seating areas, and centrally located first-floor laundry room designed as a social space to reduce isolation. Open space significantly exceeds zoning requirements, with more than half of the site dedicated to open and landscaped areas. The tree canopy coverage requirement is met on site. Parking is proposed at 54 parking spaces for 87 units. However, no good deed goes unpunished. We increased the parking by 18 spaces in response to the community feedback we received at the neighborhood meeting on August 13th, only to be reminded by our staff at Park and Planning that the code is quite rigid with respect to maximum allowed when neighborhood compatibility standards are triggered. The new zoning ordinance caps the parking at 36 spaces. The applicant added the parking, as I mentioned, based upon that feedback and the reality that many seniors still drive. This is not a dependent care facility, it's an independent care facility. The issue with regard to the code requirement parking is that the code blurs the lines between apartment housing for the elderly and other dependent care uses under a group category called group living uses. Within the group living use category, all those uses that include dependent care uses are parked at 1 space for every 4 beds. This use is included in that group living scenario. The parking is more reflective of dependent care, which, as I mentioned, is 1 space for every 4 beds. We believe that the minimum parking requirement needs to be adjusted, and not to require a minimum as high as a market rate multifamily building, but not as low as a dependent care facility like assisted living. A minimum requirement of 1 space for every 2 beds, for example, would be more consistent between these 2 uses and would be appropriate here. Legislation will be needed, and we intend to pursue that with the welcome support of the city. We also believe that the proposed parking and suggested amendment to the legislation is consistent with the IT parking demand requirements for this use. The traffic generation for this project is very minimal, approximately 12 a.m. peak hour trips and approximately 14 p.m. peak hour trips. These levels are well below the thresholds that would trigger traffic concerns and are far lower than many by right commercial uses. A phase 2 noise study will be completed. It's actually being wrapped up right now. We should have it by Friday. That would be shared with your staff. Interior noise levels will not exceed 45 dBA, and exterior noise levels will be mitigated as necessary for daytime averaging. The fire department access and maneuverability concerns have been addressed through site design. Sufficient right-of-way exists along Branchville. Reduced access use along a portion of Branchville Road is accommodated, and there is a depressed curb opposite the fire station for maneuverability within the right-of-way. In closing, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, Branchville Crossing represents a permitted and appropriate use at this location, a clear response to documented countywide need, and a reduced impact alternative to previously approved development, and a long-term public benefit through affordable apartment housing for the elderly. With that, Mr. Mayor, we again thank staff for its recommendation. We look forward to answering any questions you have, and we have the full assortment of the development team with us, so if I can't answer any questions, others may be called to the mic to answer those. So thank you for your indulgence, and hopefully thank you for your support.
Thank you so much. So I will turn right now to my District 2 colleagues, because this project is located in District 2, in the Barwin and where is it? Is it Branchville area, right? Before I turn to them, there are quite a few questions came from the community. They are concerned about the parking, as you mentioned, that one of the reasons you could not go for a higher number of parking is because of the limitation in the standard, in the park and planning standard. Am I correct? Is that the reason?
In the zoning ordinance, yeah.
In
The zoning ordinance caps the maximum at 1.5 times the minimum, which in this case is 36 parking spaces.
Okay, so you could actually go above that limit, but
we currently cannot go above 36. We are proposing to go above 36, but legally we cannot go above 36 parking spaces.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Without an amendment to the zoning ordinance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So because of the zoning ordinance limitation, you can't go above.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things about the new zoning ordinance. There's a lot of still things 3 years later we're finding out aren't so great.
Yeah, I think the intent was to reduce the number of parking rather, and to encourage people to use alternate mode of transportation. That was probably the reason behind it. But
yeah, and it blurs the lines between uses as a care use type designation.
Right.
It treats it as dependent care, which may not need as much parking, even though this is independent care. So there needs to be a distinction in the parking table in the new code. I don't think it's going to be a significant lift to do that. Park and Planning has indicated they acknowledge that probably needs to be corrected. It's just a matter of getting it done before we can get the permit, which will be necessary.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yep.
All right, who from District 2 College go first? Ms. Jordan.
Thank you for your presentation, for all the work that you've done on this. There is a real need for senior housing in College Park for all the reasons that you stated. So we're very happy that this is being brought before us. Additionally, I haven't been here since 1987, but I've been here for a number of the meetings over the years, and can definitely see that the developer has listened to the residents, has listened to the College Park and the different interests to see what would fit here, what's needed here, and ways to work together, and so that's very much appreciated. The most common comment from residents then when I brought this up to them was the parking, and so I appreciate that that this is something they were all trying to brainstorm different ways to get even more parking in, and so I would be supportive of the increase to 54 units. I see all the reasons why. As this is not dependent living. You wouldn't even have anywhere that dependents would live in the building. This is independent living.
Correct.
And many people would have their own cars. And additionally, while I looked up what bus stops were nearby, and there's one. It's not too far away, but still, it doesn't go very many places. And as seniors, riding your bike isn't really necessarily an option. And so this is something that I would hope that the county would be able to approve. The site plan itself looks great. It addresses a lot of the issues people had. I was happy to hear that the Branchville Fire Department, that maneuverability had been an issue for some of the previous plans, and I'm glad to see that has been worked out. I had a question. You said there's a difference between ADA compliant and federal. What did you call it? UFAs?
Yes.
Can you explain the difference between those, please?
Yeah, so predominantly for apartment housing, especially for a 4% LIHTC deal that's covered under that, we're going to be required to enter into a covenant agreement with the CDA that basically not only binds this project to age restrictedness, 62 and older, but as part of that, actually I brought an example of a covenant for another project that'll be identical to this one. And what the covenant will require, and I'll just read it just so you have it, but I'm happy to share this with your staff, but The declarant, in this case will be us, shall ensure that the project complies with the Uniform Federal Accessibility Standards, UFAs, and all other applicable laws and requirements, including without limitation, the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, the Americans with Disability Act of 2010, and as modified by HUD. Declarant shall ensure that 5% of the units in the project be UFAs qualified, with additional 2% of the units in the project UFAs qualified for vision and hearing impaired residents. So we're going to be required to have a set aside of a certain number of units. I've indicated 3 one-bedrooms to make 3 one-bedrooms, 3 two-bedrooms to make up that 5%, and then 1 one-bedroom and 1 two-bedroom to make up that 2% for vision and hearing impaired. So whether those folks are on the wait list or not, we have to set aside those units. We will be free to rent to non-qualifying residents who don't need the 2%, the 1 or 1 bedroom or the 1 two-bedroom that have vision and hearing. But if somebody on that wait list has that requirement, we're obligated to then afford it to them. So the purpose of that is to be responsive to the needs of the aging population and the seniors that'll be habitating here, but obviously not all of them need full accessibility type units. So
just for my clarification, I'm sorry if it was already in your report, this is for senior housing and physically disabled families. Is there an overlap, or like physically disabled families not necessarily in the 62 and up range?
You mean, could somebody who is not 62 but be physically handicapped or disabled? I have to check the Declaration of Covenants on that, because I'm not certain whether or not you still have to be 62 or not. My understanding, I'll confirm before the 27th, my understanding is that we will have to put an age-restricted limitation on all ages 7 units of 62 or older. So I want to say yes, that you still have to be 62 even though if you're disabled, but let me double check from the covenants that we're going to be required to do with the state. But I believe every unit will be age-restricted to 62 or older.
Do you
Armand,
know?
Is that correct? Yeah.
Do you have a sense of what you're going to be charging at this point for rent?
So it's based upon 60% AMI, and that runs the range depending on 1 or 2 bedrooms. We believe which can change based upon HUD AMI reporting. But generally speaking, you're going to run a range of anywhere from $1,100 to over $2,000 a unit. The 2 bedrooms obviously being on the higher side.
All right, thank you.
All right.
But that's capped, and that, I mean, we can't change that. We're gonna sign these documents, and the benefit, and I think staff summarized what the 4% LIHTC deal is. It's basically the ability to provide affordable housing, in this case for seniors, with a tremendous amount of oversight by the government to make sure that all those qualifications are being met, to and include affordability based upon the AMI that HUD reports.
Thank you. Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did want to say thank you to the applicant team. This is a really promising proposal, I think, both for the city and specifically for District 2. So it's great to see a project finally coming to fruition on this site, particularly reduced rate senior housing. I also wanted to say thank you to staff for your incredibly thorough review, your coordination with county and the applicant, and I trust that you're going to continue coordinating to ensure compliance on the things that are still outstanding: landscape manual requirements, lighting, noise requirements, etc. I do have 3 questions for the applicant, but before I get to my questions, I wanted to share a few thoughts. I do, again, to staff, really agree with and appreciate your comments regarding potentially amenitizing the stormwater facility if that is possible, and also encouraging the applicant to take part in our public art programs. To the applicant team, I did want to note in regards to frontage, I did see you have full sidewalks along the Branchville frontage of the site, which is excellent. I love the Continental Crosswalk at the entrance. But I did not see on the site plans a safe crossing from the site to the southern portion of Branchville Road. It seems like there should be one on the eastern leg of 49th and then perhaps at the eastern terminus of the site. I don't necessarily need information on that at this point in time, but if that is something, if it's not there currently, if you could coordinate to provide a safe pedestrian crossing across Branchville Road. In regards to bike parking, I see that you're exceeding the requirements. That is excellent. I love to see it. The vast majority of them are long-term spaces indoors with, I think, one short-term space outside. I would love to see maybe one or two more short-term spaces outside of the building for visitors. I did want to note on the vehicular parking, it was interesting listening to the applicant's presentation because I had arrived at a very similar conclusion. The applicant is proposing to provide parking over the maximum. The maximum is based on the minimum, and the criteria for the minimum seems very atypical to me. In my experience, having a parking ratio that is based on a bed count is much more typical for nursing homes, assisted living, et cetera, very atypical for independent living. So I am in favor of the applicant's proposal to increase the parking over the maximum. I think that their proposal is quite in line with a normal requirement, particularly if the county can locate within the code an avenue for relief from the code requirement. If that is part of the proposed legislation, it seems like that would be reasonable to amend the code to provide an avenue for relief for, again, atypical circumstances like this one. And in the future, in instances like these, would love to see the increase in parking over the maximum or a reduction in parking below the minimum, supported by a parking demand analysis. Before I get to my questions for the applicant, which I am keeping brief, I did want to note for my colleagues, if you look at the applicant's statement of justification, and I'm sure many of you did, we are talking about consistency with a 1988 master plan and a 1989 sectional map amendment, which when we are looking for consistency with plans that are as old as I am, I think we have something to consider. I know that Planning and Zoning Authority is outside of our control, but I do think there's a conversation to be had there. So again, keeping it brief, question about the parking. I'm curious to understand why we're looking at surface parking as opposed to structured parking.
Yeah, financial. I mean, that's the short answer. For just financially, I mean, this project was fully entitled in 2020 with, a bigger building, market rate, which obviously would have provided greater return to the owner and the applicant, who has been holding this property since the late 80s. Unfortunately, with the 4% tax credit and things of that sort, there's ceilings, and the cost of the project can't exceed certain amounts with respect to making it viable. And so we get to the point of, as you know, as a planner, the push-pull of projects and trying to fit a need that's desperately needed not only in the city but in the county, with more housing for seniors to age in place, for independent living. You have to get to the point of why do we not see more of these? And the reason is because they're very expensive to build. The only reason why this one's moving forward is because of the 4% LIHTC tax credit, which is a non-competitive tax credit. And it basically trades, or there's a trade-off between the government building affordable housing and the private sector building affordable housing. And this is a tool that they use to let the private sector build affordable housing to get a benefit, while also ensuring that there's incentives in place and checks and balances to serve the needs of the community, which is the public benefit. So I could stand before you and say, we would love to do it. We would, I know there was conversations and comments at the neighborhood meeting about going underground or going structured, or even, structured solar. The problem is that every time we do those things, it adds cost, and the cost gets to a point where the project just becomes infeasible. So we think we've struck a nice balance with respect to the parking. I want to thank you for your comments. You said a lot with respect to various components of what we presented this evening, and I will say I'm aligned with you on most everything that you indicated. I will say the issue with the parking is, and you mentioned code amendments, I'm going to take the path of least resistance, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if the path of least resistance politically is to provide a mechanism for which I can seek relief, that we can analyze, and whether it's a waiver or departure, whatever the case may be, we will explore that. If the path of least resistance is to simply change one space for every 4 beds to one space for every 2 beds, that jacks up the minimum parking to 47, and the 1.5 maximum of the minimum is like 82, which we fall nicely within that range. Change the 4 to a 2. That's what we're going to do. We're going to try to do. Obviously, it's a legislative exercise, and so hopefully with the city's support, Councilmember Olson will be also supportive to do that. The issue is that notwithstanding this is independent living, it's within the section of the code, including the parking table for group living. And group living includes all the dependent uses as well. So, and they're all 1 to 4 beds. Park and Planning, I don't want to speak for them, but they've acknowledged that that probably isn't the best thing for these types of uses. So I feel like it's not going to be a difficult thing to do, but it's a process that we're going to have to explore. So I answered your question, but also you made a lot of good statements. So I just want to highlight those.
No, I appreciate it, and I'm not going to go off down the path following the part of myself that would love to just workshop code amendments. I'm going to save everyone from that now. I do actually have a quick question about LIHTC since you brought it up, but the other more technical question that I have is in regards to the Type B buffer on the western portion of the site that buffers the quote, incompatible use of single-family units from the site. I saw that you broke it up into 2 segments, one of which includes planting units that do have canopy trees, and then the northern portion, which the planting units do not include canopy trees. And I was curious if you could speak to why that kind of bifurcation, why the difference in the planting units.
Do you want to take that one? And I do want to say, just for the record, to staff's point, some of the items. So where we find ourselves in the process is, for those that are quite familiar with the process, once an application gets accepted, then we go to what's called Subdivision Development Review Committee, SDRC. And we get a number of comments at SDRC, including staff comments. We have a certain period of time in which we have to respond to those comments and resubmit. That period doesn't end till Friday. So we're in the process of addressing a lot of these comments, many of which that staff highlighted in its report. Not to say that the application was incomplete, just to say that we are still in the process of addressing comments. So we feel very confident in a lot of the comments that have been raised, not only from staff here, but at Park and Planning. They're all part of what's being revised as part of the plan. So by the 27th, the plan set that your staff has will be the updated plan set that somewhat obviates a lot of these comments tonight. But I'll let Barry, if you want to address the breakdown of the landscape.
Thank you for the layout of that. Good afternoon. For the record, Barry Cason, civil engineer with Atwell. And to Matt's point, that's exactly what we do. That's exactly what we're doing. We're responding to the comments that have come from staff about the count in the number of planting units and in the type of in the type of area where the planting materials happen. One area is already more of a cleared type of area, and the other area that as you explained, bifurcation on the upper end, if you will, to the northwestern side of it, is more an area where there is existing tree canopy. So that's the reason that I believe the staff has commented. We are working through to make sure that we are addressing all of the right plant material and things like that, including with the comments that came back from staff talking about the invasive species, making sure that the recommendation to remove those as well. So
that's really helpful. So just to make sure I understand, in that northern segment, you are looking at kind of adding to plant material that will be retained in that area, and that's why we see a lot of evergreens and not as many canopy trees.
Correct.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
That's really helpful to understand. final question's not about
Okay.
landscaping. I appreciate it
All
very
right,
much.
thank you.
Last one, I know I heard staff say this, but I just wanted to confirm, so I know how to message correctly to residents. Is it accurate that all of the units will be LIHTC units, or will there be any that will be market rate?
Nothing would be market rate.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Let me see, Ms. Mitchell.
Mr. Mayor, I think Councilman Hughes has been waiting a while. So I'll
I
defer
didn't
to
see
him.
that. Sorry, please go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, excuse me. Just a couple of things, and this might be a little ahead of ourselves, but during the construction phase, will there be any sort of permanent parking applied to the surrounding neighborhoods to prevent some of the common issues we have when constructions are near residents, where the construction workers will park in the neighborhoods? Do you have enough on-site parking to accommodate them, or off-site?
Yeah, the property is 2.2 acres, so there'll be plenty of on-site area to provide construction parking, so that construction parking won't be off-site. And we'll work with staff to ensure that, but we don't anticipate any issues during the construction phase for requiring any on-street or off-street, or on-street parking or parking off-site.
Okay. And then such of a building, not construction, but the type of audience or residents, they may be creating a burden on the EMS system, which for Branchville, which already is catering to attic towers and Spellman houses and residents and stuff like that. And we've been having a lot of battles with the county about staffing that fire department, which is majorly volunteer. I'm just hoping that you'll be supportive of our efforts of getting better staffing there, given your targeted residents.
Certainly. I mean, I'm not privy to or familiar with what those efforts would entail, but I'm yes, obviously always happy to work with the city with anything that would better the community. We look, at the location of that facility in such close proximity, somewhat as an amenity. I mean, for a senior population building to be on the doorstep of a firehouse with EMS right there, I mean, that's a wonderful asset in my opinion. But so yeah, anything that we can do collaboratively to work with the fire department or work with the city, we're 100% on board to do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to recognize someone from our Branchville Fire Department in the room. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Councilmember Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Tedesco. It's been a long time that we've been discussing this.
A long time.
Long time we've been discussing this, and the first couple of iterations of this have been very contentious, and I'm so glad to see it. We're at a point now where we really are seeing some synergy in regards to bringing this to College Park, especially when you talk about seniors, because I'm not going to claim I'm a senior, but I'm somewhat a senior. So hopefully one day maybe I can get there. Just in regards to, I thank you in regards to the parking, you going above and beyond. Transportation for seniors, some seniors don't have transportation. And, I asked a question before, and I'll ask it to you now here for consideration, because, I always try to think out of the box. If there is a willingness on the applicant to, part of the process is to help the city with the transportation needs. We have our own bus, but this will be more seniors coming to the city, and we are somewhat constrained as far as the services that we have. Is there a willingness on your part to help us with putting some money aside for services for transportation for those seniors who aren't able to use the bus system or may be physically handicapped and do need someone to come pick them up?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Mitchell. Not prepared this evening to commit funds, but I am very much prepared to commit my client who's in the room to have those discussions with, either staff or your city attorney or city manager to figure out what that looks like, to see if there's an opportunity or ability to collaborate and join in on that. But I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, and I certainly don't want to commit, given the fact that we are, limited on how much cap room we have to make this project. I don't want I don't want to be before you 6 more years from now on another iteration of this project, given where we are, because we'll all be seniors by then. So.
That's right. No, and I appreciate
but I appreciate the question, and my client's in the room, and we're hearing you loud and clear.
Yeah.
So
and
getting more information, details would be
right.
helpful.
DC Office of Aging offers a lot of incentives for development types like this. So I just want to make sure that if I don't want to commit you, but I appreciate you taking my
We hear you, and we'll endeavor to work the next 2 weeks to figure out if there's a path there.
Thank you. Ms. Mackey?
Yes, thank you. And I want to thank my D2 colleagues for their thorough review and how they've helped us all to understand, and staff. And thank you, Mr. Tedesco, for just clearing some things up for us. Yeah, I feel your pain with the parking. I'm a senior, and I still drive. So, you know, the one thought that I had was, have we anything for electrical vehicles? Okay, so
yes,
that's
we do.
Good.
Although not required, we are providing EV charging stations on site. Yes.
And excuse me if I'm asking things that you've already stated. And there will be washing machines in every unit?
There will not be washing machines and dryers in every unit. There'll be a ground floor area for those types of services, and that was intentionally designed to make it a more communal space.
Okay.
And obviously also keeping the units at a certain size that can keep it.
Keep the cost down.
Yes.
Yeah. I understand that. And even though I would hate that. So dragging laundry around is not fun. My last question is, I just wanted to, I guess it's not a question, it's a suggestion. We have Riderwood up the street, and as far as I know, they have plenty of parking there, so I don't know how they got around the whole parking issue. I know they're in Montgomery County, but they are partially in Prince George's County too. So I didn't know whether you've thought of that, so I just thought I'd bring it
we're
to your
constrained
attention.
by the new zoning ordinance, which is in its infancy, all things considered. I mean, it took effect on April 1st, 2022. And, you know, even though we're 4 years removed, I will tell you the first 2 years of it being implemented, there was very few applicants going under the new zoning ordinance. It's happening more and more. And so as we do more and more projects in the new zoning ordinance, we start finding where some of these issues lie. And this one hit us square in the face after we try to accommodate the community. So, but we have answers. I mean, every issue has a solution, and this one we think has a very easy one, but it's going to take, you know, a little bit of political maneuvering. And but I don't think it's a big ask, and I'm optimistic that we can get it done.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? So I know staff is going to, and you also together will be working in the future about some kind of amendment to the zoning so that more parking could be added. Is that I'm hearing?
Yeah, well, my intention is to work with your staff to kind of get their views and thoughts of the world. We kind of already discussed it at a high level, but we have to have conversations with Councilmember Olson. That's a little tricky because we can't actually talk to Councilmember Olson about this project because it's a pending project and there's ex parte rules. But my intent is to reach out to his chief of staff with your city in tow, city staff and city attorney in tow to make suggestions. Also park and planning, because they might have some suggestions on how to remedy the situation as well. So
thank you.
Yeah.
So the way this kind of zoning amendments work, it may take some time, but I don't think you'll be waiting for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, best case scenario for a zoning text amendment, you're talking 3 to 4 months to get it through the process, which that timing would be, you know, work well with what we're doing. But as far as we could theoretically have something in place even before the plan was certified if it's something as easy as just changing the requirement. I just have to change the table and we're good.
Text amendments sometimes could be pretty challenging.
It can be, depending on what they are, but this one doesn't seem
is
like
it is it possible to put something in our DOC, Declaration of Covenant, along the line that in case it doesn't happen, right?
Oh. Well, okay. What the staff recommendation, and if the city council wants to forward that, it's to support the amount of parking. But in terms of, if you're saying in the Declaration of Covenants, could we overshoot the cap? And we don't have that authority. We couldn't go beyond what the county permits.
In case the zone text amendments happens or any zoning amendment changes happen, then it looks like the applicant is agreeing to add more parking in the future. So is that condition could be added in our DOC?
If I may, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
So if I understand the question correctly, I think that's already going to be provided in your recommendation, because your recommendation is going to be supportive of the 56 parking spaces. So to facilitate the 56 parking spaces, we would need to do the amendment. And so I think by making that recommendation and us signing a covenant pursuant to that development plan, you're more or less accomplishing what you're asking.
Thank you. As long as it's covered.
Yeah. I mean, that would be my thought, but happy to
Thank you.
vet that more with Stephanie or others.
Because that's
I think you're covered. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because that is the most common comments we are getting from the community.
We understood.
Yeah.
Very early in the pre-application neighborhood meeting that the parking was need to be increased.
But I want to echo my colleagues that this, and I've been following your development for a while, for many years, and it went through so many bumps on the road. But I want to thank you for changing the types of the development, because before it was kind of, I believe, when you started kind of market rate development. Now it is affordable senior housing, and these are the two terms: affordable, senior. We've been advocating to everyone, and the community has been asking for these two type of developments as well. So thank you for agreeing to it. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? And thank you all who came from Boston, I guess. Thank you for taking the trip. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you so much. We'll see you on the 27th.
So staff is good. It'll be in bringing it up in the next January 27 meeting.
Right. We'll bring it for you for the action, and then we'll have the Declaration of Covenants in
at that time.
Good shape.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I appreciate it.
Congratulations again on the new electeds.
All right. I know I told you it'll take a little longer, 32. See, over 30 minutes. But thankfully, the next item is not there, so we'll be saving some time. All right. So we'll be going to number 6 directly. Everyone is in here, which is the review and discussion of the proposed 2026 mayor and council proclamations. Is there anyone from the staff side who want to take it? Ms. Allen?
Hi, Mayor and Council. Before you, you have a proposed list of proclamations for 2026. It is up to council to approve the list, make changes, don't approve the list. Staff will take direction. I do know Councilmember Mackey had 2 that she wanted to add, so at this time it would be best to add those as well.
I apologize. I did send a future agenda item with all of them. We did a joint. District 4 did a joint.
Okay. When did you send it in?
I sent that this morning.
I don't think.
Or yesterday morning. I sent it via Gmail, but I sent it.
Okay. I missed it, but I'll look for it. But that's fine. But it's at this time, it would be best if we want to approve a list, it would be best to add.
Yeah. Can you give that a title? You don't need to give the entire text.
So for the month of December was Impaired Driving Awareness Month. For the month of November, Hunger and Homeless Month. Am I correct, Mayor Pro Tem? Homelessness. For the month of January, Law Enforcement Day. And then also for the month of February, Developmental Disabilities Month. For the month of April, Professional Municipal Clerks Week. And for the month of March, Diversity Month. And may I ask a question for point of clarification? So this list is the list that we're going to approve. This does not take away from other proclamations that we may want to do for a person, or individual. This is just for...
That's correct. We can always submit a form and by procedures that's in the rules and regulations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Sorry, Ms. Mackey.
Actually, Councilmember Oates has one he'd like to share.
Oh, yeah.
So I maybe I submitted this as a future agenda item, so it's probably the wrong way to propose it. But
No, you can add the title.
But the idea would be to pursue something around Independence Day, recognizing Independence Day and the 250th.
So that is the one time.
Yeah.
Because it's happening only which anniversary?
Yeah. So it wouldn't be the annual event.
Okay.
It would be a one-time.
So we don't need to add this to the annual list because annual list is a recording, but his one is one time, only this year. Am I correct?
I mean, my question would be, if we review it every year, then isn't the 2026 list, like, there's no...
Yeah, but are we going to make the same proclamation next year in 2027? I don't think so.
I'm at your instruction as to the proper procedure for that kind of proposal.
Yeah, we can add this in the future as well. Ms. Allen?
I don't think there's an issue putting it on here because then we're approval list again next year, next January.
Okay. Because this is only 2026.
That's correct.
So next year this will be going out. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
And Councilmember Oates, did you submit it through the online portal or?
I did.
Okay, something's going wrong because we haven't received.
Monday morning at like 8:45.
Monday. Thank you. I appreciate you.
For some reason,
we'll have to check on that. If there seems like there's been a number of them going through, we would see that come through. So we'll get with IT and figure that out.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other add or proclamation? So, sorry, second. You have? Yeah, your son is added. So I talked to all of the council members of the next step, and based on the feedback and to keep things simple, I suggest, again, this is not what exactly I was thinking of last week, for the best interest of our, I would say, unity or cohesiveness, I suggest we approve this list as a consent in the next meeting, which is a January 27 meeting. And if that is okay with everyone, I can give that to the staff. Is that correct? Is that right with everyone? Okay. Mr. Ortiz?
Yeah, that's fine with me. I just had a separate comment on the proclamation list more generally, and I think also you may have addressed this while I stepped out of the room, but some of the dates may need to be adjusted.
Oh yeah,
and based on what's on the
I
list.
have not, but please go ahead.
But I was just going to note, I think for proclamations more generally, I know this is a very long list. It does take up time on each of these agendas to do these things. I also just think that if we're going to issue a proclamation, that we should kind of put our either communications or money or other initiatives where our mouth is, and be willing to actually do something. So, right, like there should be some low bar for what we do a proclamation for versus what we don't do a proclamation for. So I think it would be useful as people are thinking about the things in the proclamation list to think about, like, is this actually something that the city is going to take some tangible action on, or something that we're going to use our communication modes to inform our citizens about, aside from the text of the proclamation itself. So I put that out to you just as a commentary or a mode of thinking, because I do think, I just worry that it's taking a lot of our time, but then we're not using our time for instance, to actually seek to address issues that we are saying then are important. One that comes particularly to mind is on Human Trafficking Awareness Month. In our last meeting, I don't know what the city is doing to increase awareness of issues around human trafficking. That seems like something perhaps we should do if we are issuing proclamations on it.
Yeah, one thing we staff started doing it, and I appreciate that every time a proclamation is made, and that is included in the next week's our weekly email, right?
Correct.
So that is the minimum we are doing, and that itself means that we are recognizing it. So that sends a message. But what you're saying, for example, MLK, Martin Luther King Day proclamation, which is the very first one, the city has been doing a lot, but others we may not be. There are always opportunities, but also need to think our staff has a constraint on they can't support all the events.
Well, Mr. Mayor, if I can ask to Councilmember Oates' point, I think when you talk about human trafficking, I think, again, the opportunities for us is really when we talk about the strategic plan, like, what can we do as far as human trafficking? One of the components. I mean, that's what I will look at. If we're going to talk about it as a city, I'm sorry, Councilman, I'm going to speak up louder. If we're going to talk about it as a city, human trafficking, to your point, you're right. What are we going to do about it? Are we going to do some kind of education? Are we going to have seminars? Are we going to partner with the schools in our area? So I think that's a part of the scope in our 5-year strategic plan we can work on.
Thank you. Mr. Hill, do you have a comment?
Just some little ones. Just I was noticing for the Martin Luther King Day, and in our proclamation we read, it was pointed out to me the proper title is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King.
Okay.
I had dropped that off, so
yes,
we can be a little more careful about that in the future.
Thank you. So staff has direction. Mr. Young.
Mayor, and I just wanted to remind you of some of the conversation we also had regarding with the clerks is a need to have another process or another way to recognize groups that want to get recognized other than a proclamation, so it doesn't have to come to council. And what the criteria for that would be, I think that's something that we need to have a discussion about.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just the mayor signs off on that on behalf of the council, and the council also signs off on it. It's just there, as you've seen over the last couple of years, the number of requests that come in, and we can't accommodate them all. So there might be another process that would be more accommodative, and we don't have to take up so much time at it.
Yeah. So 21 R15 does have a very brief one-liner. What would be the criteria? But we could expand on it. But I take your point. And I was talking with our attorney the other day. There are some opportunities in probably reviewing 21 R15. For example, there was a suggestion or the discussion last week about some amendments to, I believe it was Ms. Simmons was suggesting some changes to the proclamation that I read last time. And right now, the 21 R15 doesn't give us any direction, so that could be an opportunity to review it and add some language. What would be the process of amending the existing language or adoption of it?
Just a question. For clarification, are you talking about the language in the resolution or the language in the proclamation?
In the proclamation, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if we speak to, because we don't talk about how the proclamations.
No, there is no guidance. There is no guidance in anywhere. So what I'm suggesting, maybe in the future, we can have a work session discussing it, what would be the process, and at that time we can also discuss what Mr. Young was suggesting.
Just for clarifications, for instance, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. proclamation, you wanted that to see a draft of that at a work session prior to it coming on for a reading.
So I'm not going to go at that detail at this meeting. I'm suggesting to have a work session in the future to discuss all these different suggestions that are coming about the process and about discussing the criteria that Mr. Young, for example, is suggesting.
Yeah, we can do that. We'll see where we can fit that in on the schedule to have that discussion.
Yeah, there could be other ideas that council wants to make changes to. Thank you. Mr. Oates?
Yeah, just further to that point, not to expand it, but within the proclamations it says that the city and the mayor recognize this. And so understanding, like, what is the part that then, if we're proclaiming something from the council and mayor, but then the text of it has never been reviewed by us, are we only proclaiming that it is the day, which is what we have taken a decision on, or is the full text of the proclamation something that we are also being seen to proclaim, and therefore where would it come to us? I don't want to make it complicated. I'm not trying to, but.
Okay. Is that your question? Is a comment?
As they review it, that's a factor to think.
Oh, in the future. Okay. Okay. Thank you. If there is no other, Mr. Hill?
Would you?
No, we don't need a motion. This is a work session. So it looks like everyone is on board bringing this up on the 27th.
Correct. I'll add this, plus the ones that were added this evening, to the list.
Yes.
Have it in the packet for approval for next week on a consent agenda item. And then I will switch proclamations around to where it will come after.
So that the new one could be added for January. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Is that okay with everyone? There are 2 in January. I think, Ms. Mitchell, is there something?
Oh, the ones
Law
I've
enforcement?
that was January 8th, it's passed.
It has passed.
So I'm not
Maybe next
considering,
year.
I'm okay with whatever I did, suggest January can go for next year. I'm not.
Yeah, keep a note.
The law enforcement will be, I'll go ahead and add this on here, even though we did not do a proclamation. But when we start to look at them again
27.
for 2027, it will automatically already be on the list.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, please.
Sorry, just since I haven't seen the lists that you all submitted, one of them was Diversity Month. Can you tell me, was that particular to a particular group or just in general? Okay.
Okay.
So everyone, I will resend it out to everyone so you can understand the language.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all. If there is no, Ms. Jordan?
I have a question. Generally, does staff write them? Like we're just like they get submitted and staff writes them, or does the council person that suggested it?
Staff writes them, but if you would like to write it, that we're perfectly fine with that.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, we've done it both ways, where some council members have wanted more input on the particular item more than staff, and so they had already have it or they found it somewhere. Usually we do a lot of research and find others that have already done it. We don't recreate the wheel too often.
Right.
So.
It's usually something that they're passionate about, and we completely understand.
Thank you.
But in the end, the staff always reviews it, and sometimes our attorney also helps in. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, I think we're good on that. Let's move forward. The next one. What on the time? Yeah, we have save some time, about 4 minutes. All right, let's go to the review, number 7, review of the advisory board's annual reports and work plans, and this will be taken by Ms. Allen.
I'm just going to take it real quick. Kenny may have something to add, and I'll just let you know. So we put the work plans are due annually, so we placed all the work plans in here for your review. The staff hasn't done anything with them yet. If there is a particular board that you would like to see that would like to come back to the council meeting so you could discuss their annual work plan with, we will invite the board or committee. if you have just general questions you would like to add to that,
Yes.
you can send them to our office, to myself, and then copy Kenny on it. And then we'll make sure we get it out to the staff liaison and the board, the chair of the board, to answer those questions. City staff will be will review all advisory boards' annual reports in time for budget session, so we can make sure that we include their items that if they need budget items, we will make sure it's included in the budget.
Ms. Mitchell has some idea?
In the budget for consideration.
For consideration, sorry.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know we have new council members, and I didn't know if it would be prudent for us to bring the chairs of these of the various work plans that we received to the council, so they can have opportunity to ask questions and get a better understanding of the work plan and the process prior to the budget.
Do you want to bring all of them or only selected?
It depends on what my colleagues.
So yeah, that's helpful. Ms. Mackey, Mayor Pro Tem Mackey, you are suggested to bring Airport Authority, maybe?
Well, I was just suggesting, I just used that one because it was the first one as an example, but my colleague and I have discussed this, and thank you for bringing that forward, that there were some that had pretty extensive reports, and it might behoove us to be able to interact with the chair of that committee. Some of them said they didn't have anything that they were going to, want. So maybe there's a way of choosing the ones that have given some suggestions. Like when I spoke to Mayor Kabir, I just used the Airport Authority as an example, that they have things that they wanted us to consider for the future, so it might behoove us to interact with them. That's what my colleague and I had discussed, and I thank her for bringing that forward.
Anytime. I would like to hear from the Advisory Planning Commission, because they don't have to do a report, but I think it's a good opportunity for us to hear from them in regards to what they see in the future regarding some of the requests that they receive and how that may play a part in our processes for the future.
So there is a suggestion to bring APC in one of the future meetings to discuss their work plan. Am I correct? Thank you. Mr. Hugh.
One thing that might be useful is to invite the chairs to, at some point within our strategic planning session, because I think that they may have some ideas that may help set goals and help, arm them with the ability to prioritize some of these goals. So in our strategic planning, I think.
So, Mr. Young, can I talk about the strategic plan process? I know you and I talked about it. This is something you'll be starting very soon.
I don't have direction from the board as a body yet on what process we need to follow. So I want to be respectful to that. We have looked at several processes, talked to a number of consultants, but we have not made a determination yet on what route we're going. I want to be able to have input from the council.
Is there something we'll be discussing in a work session? Because right now, technically, we do not have a strategic plan.
You do
Am I
not.
correct?
You do not. We've really pretty much come to the end of the old strategic plan, the 5-year plan, and really, as I brought this back to the council, the last council in 2025, the council decided, and some of you were there, decided that you wanted to wait until the new council came on, so that the new council could make those decisions on what process to follow and how you wanted to engage the strategic plan, who you wanted to involve in that process. I'm taking, from my past experience, there's a lot of community input that we did. The last one that we did here had a lot of community input. and a lot of talk with our stakeholders at all levels, and so I would suspect we'd do something very similar to that.
But we also engaged a consultant.
We did. We did, and there's, I think, from a staff perspective, we were using, was it Seven Geese? Is that the name? Yeah. So any way we can get rid of Seven Geese in terms of how we do the reporting, I think would make staff very happy across the board. But it is something that resulted from the last strategic plan as the only tracking method to really track our performance. And so I think there's probably some other ways that we can achieve the same thing, but have some reporting that is not as complicated as the current process that we go through on a
Thank you.
quarterly basis.
So it looks like you're on top of it. Is it possible to bring it sooner sometime?
I will work with Yvette on trying to find a date that we can bring that soon. But
appreciate it. I know there's so many different priorities. Okay, appreciate that. Maybe one of the future work sessions. Sorry? Mr. Ranker raised your hand. Please go ahead.
Well, I'm just wondering for the strategic plan and maybe even the budget, I would love for there to be community outreach that involves some door knocking, and I do have a suggestion of a group who does that kind of thing that I'd be happy to pass on just as part of our trying to get more folks involved in all aspects of our work of the city.
Thank you. Thanks for offering the idea and help. Appreciate it. All right. So let's go back to the committees that we plan to invite. What do you think? Who is first? Is Ms. Simmons or Ms. Simmons? Please go ahead, and then Ms. Jordan.
Thank you. I did have a question about next steps when it kind of comes to all of the advisory board annual reports. Ms. Allen, I know you said that when it comes to kind of budgetary implications, you will be reviewing these and bringing them back as part of the budget process. But for things that have more of like a non-budgetary element to them, the airport authority wanting help contacting TSA, B City Committee wanting their board district distribution requirements to be revised to increase participation, are you anticipating kind of compiling those and reporting out on them with recommendations as well, or what are the next steps there for the non-budgetary items?
Ms. Allen or Mr. Young?
I was just making sure Khadi didn't want to answer. For those items, I'll give you for examples for both that you gave me. Airport Authority, we've been working on that. The last council did give the board, the Airport Authority, direction on what they need to do before they would take any consideration on sending a letter to the TSA. That hasn't been done yet. B City, that would be the staff liaison to bring forward a resolution change. And we would just bring that forward to Mayor and Council with the changes that they recommend, and Mayor and Council would vote on it.
That's really helpful. So it seems like when it's a budgetary thing, we'll have a sense during the budget process of what those things are from the reports, but if it's non-budgetary, we'll wait to hear from the board or
from the staff liaison,
staff liaison in some ad hoc manner. Is that right?
That is correct. They're coming before council.
Yeah, we'll bring them before council as the issues come up. Typically, I can speak for the airport authority. There's some of their ask. I can tell you when they have a monetary impact, my usual suggestion to the council is we shouldn't give them money. They're funded through Maryland Park and Planning. Why would we? They have a budget that's twice our size. Why would we be giving them money out of our budget that we can't do other programs for the city? And I'll probably still be there on the next ask. But I think council understood kind of some of those implications that people were asking for just dollars, and we need to be able to control where those dollars are going and getting the biggest impact for our residents and meeting the goals that the council is going to set for us. The non-budgetary type items are things that we have to talk through as staff and try and figure out how we best educate both the committee members, the public, as well as the council. And so we'll work on those issues that have been raised in there and find out what's the best path forward and report back.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. If there anything else, staff has direction.
Okay. Is there anybody, are there any boards or committees you would like to bring back to talk to?
So APC is one of them. Ms. Mitchell has added. Ms. Mackey, are you interested in bringing Airport Authority?
I was just wondering. I just wanted to know why they hadn't. I know that we said in the last. I guess it was last year about we needed to have some things from them, and I didn't know why we hadn't received those things yet. So that was my only concern there. From the Airport Authority. They want us to write a letter, but don't they need to have? We need to have something from them to do that.
That is correct.
Right. We're still waiting on that.
We're still waiting for them to visit the community and ask for it.
Okay. I also, one of the ones I just turned to it is the bike and pedestrian is a very extensive report. It might behoove us to get them to.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. They
Consolidate it or give priorities, because there was a lot of stuff in there, and it's hard to know how to go forward with it. So, I'm just looking at the ones that I just was concerned, about that, just right off the top of my head. But there might be others that my colleagues see, and I'll defer.
So are you interested in inviting bike and pedestrian?
Yeah, I think they for sure should
come. Okay. So APC, bike and pedestrian. Okay. Ms. Mitchell, one more.
I would like to see the noise control board come before us, because I know some of the members have talked about their charge and looking at that, and also I'd like to see the Veterans Memorial Committee to come in front of us.
With our new colleague, maybe. Thank you. So you got 4, I guess.
Yes. I'll invite, speaking with Kenny first, to figure out the agenda where we can place them. I'll make sure that the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee is on as soon as possible so we can review their their annual report, Advisory Planning Commission, Noise Control Board, and Veterans Memorial. We'll put them on throughout the, prior to the budget.
They don't need to come on one night. They can come.
Correct. We're scattered them because I think more of the other 3, we want to discuss their charges and what may be happening on their committee. Is that correct?
Sure. Mr. Orts. And then Mr. Hill.
I know earlier we'd had, I recall there had been a statement that the Board of Election Supervisors would come before us at some point to do. So I don't know if that's already on the list. I know ranked choice voting is coming up at some point.
It's on the list in February, the February work session.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hill.
Yes, this is more of a commission than a board. It's not on this is because it only meets once every 10 years or so. I've been on it twice. The redistricting commission. The redistricting commission needs new direction to conduct their districts better. We got pushback the last time because trying to operate under the conditions that were bestowed upon the commission, it made our job very hard to draw the districts, and we put together several maps for mayor and council, and still got pushback, which resulted in a map we weren't happy with. It didn't fully meet the conditions that we were given. I think that we need to readdress this commission's direction before that 10-year time limit comes up again, and I think that we need to possibly even reconsider consider redistricting before then, because we had such poor data from the Census Bureau, partly because of COVID and other issues.
So that's, I know we are over the time a little bit. Maybe we can have a separate work session on that, because right now there isn't any active council-approved redistricting commission, because that has been disbanded and their charge has been they have been discharged.
Right. We would have to get a new charge for the redistricting commission, and then
But Mr.
because we abandoned that board as soon as all of their charges is carried out. But I think there probably is a need for us, particularly to before the next election, to go through a process of making sure the districts are correct.
But Mr. Hugh is correct. You are correct that redistricting, we don't need to do redistricting every 10 years. It can be done anytime. I mean, I think that was in the code somewhere.
Mr. Mayor, if I can interject, the last report, the redistricting committee made a recommendation that we might want to come back
Sooner.
before the next, sooner than later, to look at redistricting, because of the fact of all the bids that were coming online. By the time we hit 2030, it would be an imbalance. And so to my colleague, Councilmember Hugh, both of us going to National League of Cities in Salt Lake, that was a big discussion about how do we make sure that we are aligned before the next census count.
Thank you. So as Mr. Young is suggesting, maybe before the next election, maybe before that, not this year, maybe next year, sometime, we can have a work session discussion.
Again, I'll work with the vet on trying to find a time during this year to try and start that discussion. Probably the sooner the better, actually, on that one as well.
Okay.
Time just gets away from us really quickly.
Yeah, we have. But thank you.
Yeah, this
Thank you for
request was done 10 years prior, and it didn't get addressed in the last one. So hopefully we can get this done.
All right. So from the list, do you have any committee you want to bring? Looks like there are 4 committees. Ms. Allen, you have those names?
Yes, 4 committees.
Okay, you're good. Looks like you're good. All right, let's move to the next one. Request for status of future agenda items. The application, I haven't seen any myself. I know there have been any new ones on the agenda.
No, Mr. Mayor. There are some that need to be have a discussion with the city manager first.
Okay, you can bring it next week, next council meeting on the 27th. All right, so seeing none, we have come to the very end of the meeting, which is 10:13, and oh my goodness, just 3 minutes over. But we do have a closed session. Before I entertain a motion, let me read out the standard language, and it reads as follows: pursuant to the Maryland's Annotated Code General Provisions, Article 3-305, the Mayor and Council of the City of College Park are providing notice that they will meet in a closed session after this meeting to consider, number 1, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, any other personal matter that affects one or more specific individuals. At this time, I'll entertain a motion, and please state that we will not be coming back to the open
Move
session.
to adjourn.
And we'll not be coming back to the
and
open
we will
meeting.
not be coming back.
Enter a closed session, or is the motion?
Motion to move into the closed session, and the council will not be coming back to the open session again. So motion has been moved and seconded by from our District 4 colleagues. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstention? We are closed. Good night, College Park.
We need a motion to adjourn.